Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to week 9 of Bet the Birds with Eliot Shorr-Parks. I'm Maniac Malloy. Nobody is as red hot as Eliot Shorr-Parks when it comes to betting against the spread week in and week out. Eliot, you're 6-1-1 with a push last week. I thought we were going to pull that one out.
That touchdown at the end was trash. I feel like it shouldn't count. That is the painful part of gambling sometimes. But I feel good about where this team is at. And look, man, you can see it on your sweater. It's Dallas week. It's one of the biggest games that we've had in a really, really long time in Philadelphia with Dallas. Dak's playing, Jalen's playing. The division is somewhat on the line. So I'm pumped, and I have a good feel for the game heading into it.
Well, you know what I'm going to ask you? The spread right now, the Eagles are laying 3 points. Eagles -3, Cowboys getting 3. Eliot, who you got this week? Eagles, Cowboys.
I am betting the Birds this week. The line, I think, is a little too low. If this got up to 4.5, 5, and I don't anticipate it moving, maybe you get a little worried there. But the Eagles are a big-time game team. Like, they show up in the big moments. We saw it against Miami a few weeks ago. That was viewed as a very close game. They went in and sent a statement against Miami. And I think this Dallas team is better than Miami. Dallas does a pretty good job holding onto the ball. They don't turn the ball over. Their defense does hold teams to 20 or fewer points in 5 of their 7 games. So this might be a little lower scoring than people think, but I believe the Eagles show up at home, 4:30, basically a primetime game, and they win this game. I think their offense is better. Dallas's offense is not as good as I think people believe it is. They're not great passing the ball. They're not great running the ball. Their offensive line is not great. And again, while their defense is good, it's really just Micah Parsons up front. And we saw last year when Micah Parsons came here, they held him to 3 hurries, no sacks, and they won that game. So I think it could be close. I think the atmosphere down there is going to be insane. It is fun to have Dallas week matter again. It's been a long time since that has been the case here in Philadelphia. But I believe the Eagles show up and they win this game, and I believe they cover. So I am betting the Birds.
You are taking the Birds, looking to move to 7-1-1 on the year. Here's one that I'm looking at this week. Now, we've seen Sam Howell look like Joe Montana against the Birds this past week. Dak seems to maybe have found it again. We know the Eagles have that potent offense and A.J. Brown. 46 is the over-under. I'm thinking over 46 points on Sunday. What are you taking for the over-under of 46 Eagles-Cowboys?
So it's a great line. I think it's right around where I think this ends up. I would probably lean the over just because we've seen Dak in the past. I know it's not in Dallas. Dak normally lights the Eagles up in Dallas, but Dak has done well against Eagles defense in the past. I do believe that some of the Cowboys' strengths, they really only have one of them, but that strength of CeeDee Lamb out of the slot, which is where he lines up the majority of his snaps against the Eagles nickel, could end up being a problem. And this Eagles offense is red hot. They had a great day against Miami. We saw last week against Washington when they had to score. They really should have had 50 points, if not for 2 turnovers in the red zone. So I think both teams are playing well enough on offense, especially the Eagles. The 46, I would take the over. I do think that, again, Dallas's defense is the better of the 2 units, but I trust the Eagles offense to score. So I would take 46 on the over there. If it moves a little bit, I would probably take like 48 if it gets there, but I would take over 46.
We're going with the over. Nobody loves taking an under, especially ESP. He loves the high-flying offense, high scoring.
Who cares about defense? Yeah, it's all
Who cares about defense? You know, truly. So, Sunday, player props. What everybody knows and loves, little same-game parlay, throw them in there. Let me hear who are some players you think they're going to have big games on Sunday.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to go with a player on the Cowboys. No fun on Cowboys week. But like I said, CeeDee Lamb lines up the majority of the time in the slot. That is where almost all of his snaps come from. If there's one weakness on this Eagles defense right now, it is their nickel corner. We'll see if Bradley Roby plays this week. If he doesn't, you're talking about maybe moving Slay to the inside, moving Bradbury to the inside. 2 things I don't think that they do very well at. Or Sidney Brown there, a rookie against CeeDee Lamb. So I think Sean Desai will have a plan ready for CeeDee. But I like the over on CeeDee Lamb receiving yards. It's really all they throw it to, and it lines up perfectly with the Eagles' weaknesses. The other player prop I really like is a DeAndre Swift over for rushing yards. This team has not rushed the ball that great over the last month, But I think there's a potential Cam Jurgens comes back, which I think will help. But also Dallas is bad against the run. Dallas on their defense, they're good against the pass. Their linebackers are okay, but their defensive line is not great against the run. I think the Eagles will try to go back to getting to that run game, especially against a good Dallas secondary. And Swift is clearly their main back. So I think DeAndre Swift could have potentially a much bigger day than he's had the past few games. And I would go the DeAndre Swift over on rushing yards. And again, like we always do, we got to sprinkle in a little anytime touchdown there for DeAndre. He should have had it last week, honestly. Well, he did. I was going to say he should have gone. I was going to say he should have gone down. Thankfully, he did not. But yes, I think there's a potential he scores as well.
Yeah, that was the first thing I texted you. He needed to go down. He almost got us the cover, though. So
I know
all the bettors really wanted him to score there. I think he was a little bit pissed off about Gainwell getting those touches down at the goal line.
And rightfully so. I don't think we want to see Gainwell in the red zone again next week. Probably not the best. Coaching staff won't be doing that, I don't think.
Well, I got to ask you personally, no moves really by Howie yesterday at the deadline. What do you make of that? What do you think of that? Is this something to be concerned about, or what do you think the Eagles might do in the coming weeks?
Look, you always want to see the Eagles add to their team, right? And I think there's areas they could have done it. I think depth at receiver, they probably need some help there. We talked about the nickel corner spot. Even if Bradley Roby does come back this week, he is not a sure thing at that spot. I think the edge rushers, they've really gotten a lot from Reddick and Sweat, not so much from BG, Nolan Smith, or Derek Barnett, so they could have added there. But ultimately, there's a reason the Eagles didn't have to make a move yesterday. And it's because they have the best roster in the NFL and they have the best team in the NFL. The Niners had to make a move. They went and added Chase Young, but they've also lost 3 straight games. You saw teams like Minnesota have to go trade for a quarterback. The Eagles are not in a desperate spot right now. And for what it's worth, last week they did add Kevin Byard, who's an all-pro level safety at a major position in need. So it didn't happen the day of the trade deadline. As someone that loves content and loves trades, certainly that was disappointing. But they still went out, added a great player, and they have the best roster. So when you have the best roster and you do a good job throughout the offseason, the deadline, there's not as much pressure to get anything done.
Well, Eliot, we're all set for week 9. Bet the Birds in the books. We're going to lay the points, take the Birds. We're going to look at the over 46. We think DeAndre Swift has a big game. And hopefully in garbage time, CeeDee Lamb hits his over. And that's going to do it for.
I got one more. I got one more for you. I got one more for you.
Let's hear it.
Ready?
What do you got?
So I really like Jalen Hurts over on rushing yards this week. I think because the Dallas defense is bad against the rush and good in the secondary, and I think they're really going to focus on AJ, you will see Jalen run it more in this game than I think normally, because when he drops back, that secondary is going to have his receivers covered. And I believe he will be more than willing to go out and run, especially if they're going to let Micah Parsons just get upfield, Jalen go right past him. I think the Jalen Hurts over in rushing yards. I know people are concerned about his knee injury, but in game, he has looked healthy and he's been more than willing to run it. Jalen, basically prime time, first real game against the Cowboys. I think he's going to put up a big game. I think that impact, though, will be felt more on the ground than through the air. So I would take the over on Jalen Hurts rushing yards.
I think that's a really nice bet. I'm going to have to trail you on that one. I think Jalen's going to have a really big game for us on Sunday. And I like taking the laying the points as well. So
yeah,
that's week 9. Bet the Birds, Eliot Shorr-Parks, Maniac, Malloy, where we help the public week in and week out how to bet the Eagles. Eliot, we'll see you down at the link on Sunday. And again, we'll see you next week. The biggest game, as you said, in quite some time for the Birds. Is this a must win or a can't lose? I think I've heard you talk about this on the radio a little bit this week.
If the Eagles win on Sunday, they will win the Super Bowl. If they don't win, I think they're in a little bit of trouble. So you want a hot take right there? I think this is a massive game. If they go out and win on Sunday, I think they will finish with the number 1 seed and nobody is coming into the link and beating the Eagles come playoff time. And if they get back to the Super Bowl, I don't believe Jalen and Nick lose it again. So if they win on Sunday, I really like their chances of having that 1 seed, and I feel very confident in their chances of winning the Super Bowl. If they lose on Sunday, you move into almost second place in the division. You have lost the home game to Dallas. The next game against Dallas is on the road. You have Kansas City, Buffalo, San Francisco. The Detroit Lions have an easy path to that number 1 because of their schedule. I think Sunday is one of the biggest games we have seen at Lincoln Financial Field in a really long time because it's Dallas, because of playoff implications, and because of what this team can accomplish. So Sunday, to me, we are going to find out what the Eagles are and how realistic their chance of winning the Super Bowl is. I think they're going to win, but it is a massive game on Sunday.
So this is what I'm hearing. Run right now to the BetParks app, futures, and pound that NFL championship winner. Last week it was plus 550, the Birds to win it all. I'm sure it's probably around plus 500 or plus 450 right now. So get on it. Get on it before we beat the snot out of the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday. Dallas sucks. Go Birds. Let's go. Let's go. We're going to the Super Bowl. Hot take. Hot take. Here we go, Eliot. Week 9 in the books. As always, thanks for coming on. And we'll see you next week. Or maybe we won't because it is a bye. We'll have to talk later.
Oh, there's always action to bet on. We'll find something.
Yeah, we'll figure out.
Are back. We'll have a little something. Don't worry.
I love it. I love it. All right, Eliot. Thanks for coming on again. Bet the Birds in the books. Week 9. Let's go.